How are we doing, everyone? In this video, we're going to talk about maybe four low-level tech attacks, things that are really easy to pull off and carry out with no manual intervention or any real difficulty in achieving these. Number one is things like shoulder surfing, right? If you're familiar with social engineering and the physical concepts of taking physical access out of something or getting access to something in an unauthorized manner when you're on an engagement, shoulder surfing is one of the most easiest ways to compromise something, right? Now, this is a classic example in the days before COVID when everybody used to commute. You would typically see people working on a train or on a bus, and they'll typically open up their laptop and then they'll type in maybe the password or a PIN code to access the lock screen and then unlock the screen. And then you're obviously going to be shoulder surfing, basically looking over their shoulder to see what passwords obviously they're going to be typing in. Maybe they're going to a certain URL, maybe they're accessing certain documents. The list goes on, right? So the whole concept and the whole notion behind shoulder surfing is basically looking over someone's shoulder. So what do we do against it, right? So we've got things like multi-factor authentication. So anytime someone tries to log in with something, we tie the login with another form of authentication, usually being a fob, like a fob access token or a secure token that sends a randomized generated bits of numbers to that identity of that person that's trying to log in or to attempt to log in. So in order for them to log in, they're obviously going to put in the password, and then they're going to have some sort of other factor of authentication being that security token to then generate those numbers, and then we're going to authenticate and log in with those bits of credentials as well. So that's basically shoulder surfing in a nutshell. So that's number one. Number two are things like dumpster diving. So in the good old days when we used to have a non-complex environment and we may just have a bit of firewalls and we have, that's pretty much it. You wouldn't have like 30,000 vendors that are in an environment now. You would do things like dumpster diving. So the whole notion and the whole theory and the idea behind dumpster diving has always been getting access to a recycled area or a secure area that's unsecurely disposing of the information, right? So now most organizations have some good retention and destruction policies in place. They've got obviously a certain location within a building of the organization that you're working with, hopefully has that, where they're actually destroying and erasing the data securely, whether it's paper documents, whether it's USB, media, endpoints, mobile devices, and so on. So most of the organizations today are actually doing a great job of that. They've got some good policies in place, clean desk policies, secure destruction, retention policies, and processes and procedures, obviously, that align with that. So the whole idea around dumpster diving has always been getting access to those documents and trying to piece together the information of it being sensitive or secret or whatever the classification that's been given to those documents or that information has been given, and we try to piece that together. Now, it's not as common these days. In most environments today, a lot of the environments have been doing a great job of securely removing their information. So that's number two. So let's move on. So I think the other area as we start talking about, low effort attacks would be something like typo-squatting. So if you're familiar with typo-squatting, so typo-squatting has been around for a little while. It's basically the manipulation of a domain name. So something that's basically a non-trusted site. So for example, if we're performing a phishing engagement, we would then go by a domain that looks quite similar to the organization that we're trying to phish for, right? And maybe the domain may be something like imc.com.au. Now, there's no affiliation to IMC, I'm just making that up. But the whole idea and the whole notion is that typo-squatting may look the same resemblance with an I, but with an L. So the whole idea behind that is to make it look quite similar. That way it's quite unpleasing to the natural eye of maybe a user, and they're not thinking twice. Once they see it, it looks like an I, whether it's an L, it's typo-squatted, and then it takes them to a malicious page, which obviously we don't want. So what do we do to protect against it? Well, the first thing that I can do and think about is anytime we get an email, obviously we don't want to be clicking those links in the email, which we have all been pounded on and obviously have been hammered through with an understanding of, right? So we want to go to obviously the search engine of preference, type in the URL and try accessing the page through that manner. The other part of that piece of the puzzle is something like DNS protection. So something like a Cisco umbrella that's been around for many years and obviously has the protection built in to obviously prevent the unauthorized manner of someone clicking a link, going to a malicious site. It's obviously going to sanitize and obviously review those malicious sites. So it protects DNS in a manner where those, obviously it helps identify those malicious websites and prevents the endpoints from basically making its way out to that malicious site. Now, lucky last, number 4 here is something in terms of tailgating. Now, tailgating has been my personal favorite over the years, anytime we're doing a physical or a social engineering engagement. And the whole idea and the whole sort of concept behind tailgating has always been about the Good Samaritan, right? Where someone is going to try and let you in because they're doing a good job about it. So the whole idea is basically someone is authenticating or getting access to a physical location through a swipe pass, or maybe allowing you into a certain room because it's maybe gatekeepered by someone maybe in reception or an admin or someone in the actual building or the facility, and we want to basically get access to that, right? So the whole idea behind us tailgating would be to tailgate someone who already has access, and then obviously weave or weasel our way in with them, right? So for example, a concept that's worked for me in the past has been carrying coffee, right? So for us, I work here in Barangaroo, and a lot of the businesses operate here in Barangaroo, and Barangaroo is known for a lot of coffee shops, right? So go downstairs, and I usually get a 4-tray coffee cup with 4 bits of coffee in one tray, and obviously another tray. So we've got 2 trays with 8 lots of coffees. Maybe you get some snacks on the side there as well. Put like some, pastries or some croissants or something like that. Put them on the with the coffees, and then you try and carry both of them, and then you try to get access to the building. Now, obviously, it takes some acting or some sort of fake trying to maneuver yourself into get access to a room. So you're trying to move in, and you're trying to go, oh look, I can't really get my pass. Sorry, do you mind if you just let me in through the door? Now, obviously, if someone has been trained well enough, they'll say stop, then we validate who you are. Maybe I haven't seen you before, and then they'll question you or challenge you to who you are. If they haven't, 9 times out of 10, they'll let you through because they're doing something good as a good Samaritan, right? So the whole idea behind that is we obviously want never to allow anyone willy-nilly access to anywhere, and sometimes it's a lot harder in IT rooms, right? In the olden days, or a few years ago, it used to be a lot easier. Sometimes you'll have the comms rooms and the comms cabinets either in an unsecure part of the office, and you just walk in and you've got routers and switches and on-prem devices. Now with the cloud side of things, it's not as easy, but the whole concept of tailgating is still getting access to an unauthorized location where you shouldn't have access, meaning you can still walk around, plug something in, inspect the location of the office, and that's the whole idea of tailgating. Now, we want to make sure that obviously we want to prevent that, so obviously good security hygiene and obviously good user awareness training is always paramount in ensuring that we stop tailgating where it's needed. So they're the 4 different types of low-level attacks. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and as always, see you all in the next video. Bye for now.